Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. So Ukraine moved forward in Kursk once again. It's been confirmed that Ukraine definitely took Olgivka village under control, and the Russian forces were kicked out from the area. Ukraine continued to press the Russian army in Kornevo town. We know that our forces went into that settlement, but for now we have just this military map update. According to the Russian sources, the fight is ongoing right in the town. Also, Ukraine continued to push towards Kremennoe, and there Russia uses the aviation gliding bombs to stop the offensive of Ukraine. So there the assault of Ukraine moves very slowly because Russia resists heavily. But you may say that all of that part is a gray zone. Here you can see it in amber. Yes, because Ukraine sent its sabotage groups far behind the front lines. They disturbed the supplies for the Russian forces, but the actual battle area is located near Kremennoe in this area and Olgina, which was already taken by Ukraine. So what is the perspective of this northeast area of the Kursk battlefield? Well, Ukraine will cross this river, there is the small river. It will take a couple of more villages under control and will go westbound towards Kornevo to push the city really hard, the town. The only option Russia uses are the aviation gliding bombs, which sometimes help to stop the Ukrainian assault missions. So guys, we discussed with you this area, but also Ukraine was successful on the southwest part of all of this Kursk battlefield. There Ukraine took two of the villages under control and the fight is ongoing for Oganasovka and Vishnovka. Ukraine goes directly to the main settlement of the place Glushkova. Glushkova is left without any sort of the supplies because the bridge out there was kaboomed around 3 days ago, but we also have the confirmation that the bridge in Zvanoye also was kaputted by Ukraine. Hopefully you can see it on this image. Here's what happened to the second bridge across the river. Well, partially this bridge is serviceable. You can use the small transport like cars, but with this damage to the bridge, Russians just cannot move their tanks or heavy equipment using it. So the remains of the bridge will allow Russia to perform a goodwill gesture. That's what they're doing little by little. We know that Russia starts to move their forces out, so we expect all of this southern area to turn for Ukrainian control. Some of the locals also leaving this area. So Glushkova bridge was kaputted fully. Zvanoye bridge was severely damaged and unusable for the heavy equipment. The only bridge which is serviceable goes across the river in Karish settlement. But if you check out this Karish settlement on a Google Maps, you'll find out that it is not connected with the main roads. There are just some of the secondary roads going, and this is the only remaining bridge, which potentially could be kaboomed at any moment. The only main road actually was going towards Glushkova, but it's no go now because there is no bridge. No main supplies could be delivered to the Russian group in this area. And you know, Ukraine is very close to the place in those villages already. Oh, we have one more update. So based on the data from other analytics, Ukraine took this territory recently under control. It's located approximately on the south from the Kornevo town. Well, the main objective for Ukraine is to move to Kornevo in this particular area, but also the objective is to go to the south and to the west. The deep state military map confirms that Olgivka went under Ukrainian control, so it opens new perspectives for Ukrainian army to operate in Kornevo. And actually I do expect this maneuver. So in general, speaking about the Ukrainian operation in Kursk, this area is very successful for Ukraine, and I expect that Ukraine will take more territories in this place, and I also expect, as I told you, a goodwill gesture from the Russian side, because for them it's impossible to supply this area any longer without those very important bridges. The northwest area is also successful for Ukraine, and there will be more success if Ukraine takes Kornevo under control. Now it's a big question whether Ukraine is capable to do it in a nearby future, but the heavy fight is ongoing out there and the Russian Z bloggers are not very optimistic about the possible outcome. The eastern area wasn't so successful for Ukrainian army, however for the last couple of days Ukraine still propelled in this place too. After all, Russia was capable to send new reinforcements. And this area, the northern side, well, I would say it's the standstill for a couple of days, maybe 3 days. What is good for Ukraine in its battlefield that Russia wasn't waiting for this strike and Russian defense lines were not prepared in all of this area. There were no patrols established, nothing, so Ukrainian sabotage groups are free to act far away, far behind the front lines, making it very difficult for Russia to send the supplies. But we'll see how it goes in the coming days. So far, Ukraine is very successful. And also we know that Ukraine started a new attack towards the Kursk Oblast. Allegedly, Ukraine took the village of Atruba and took the territory down to the river. At the same time, there are no possible supplies for the big Russian group in this part of the Kursk region. Guys, kind of a strange communication I have with YouTube, so my last video was restricted 18+, probably because I showed you some of the POVs, but they were handled well on the videos, so I wouldn't rate it 18+. But still it was restricted during the night time. I was sleeping, then I woke up this morning, I saw this message and I decided to apply for review. By the way, I don't know why YouTube is still using my old name, the old name of the channel. And you know, for the first time in the history of my channel, YouTube decided to release the restriction on this particular video. If they demonetize the video, they may review it and later on give the green light, but for 18+ content, usually all of the reviews are worthless. But here I was really surprised that everything is now fine with my video. However, algorithms do not propel the 18+ videos. That is why that video is not performing as well as others. And you know, guys, actually many of my videos are getting restricted or demonetized. So if you want to support the job that I do on YouTube, you may support me on Patreon. It's the alternate platform which keeps me motivated to film daily videos, because YouTube itself is kind of unstable, let's say. But after all, it's the biggest video hosting and there is no real alternative to YouTube. It has algorithms which sometimes like my videos and they propel those throughout the audience. So this platform from one side is good, but from the other, well, the robot system is not okay probably with my videos. That's it. Or maybe we just have some of the bots complaining on my videos, who knows. Well, anyways, guys, let's go to other topic. It's just a small deviation to give you some of the insights of what is happening in the channel. Alright, what is happening on the Russian positions? Guys, it is not a dog, it is a goat. Well, actually a couple of the goats which were spotted on the Russian positions. Well, there are two variants where they keep those animals near them, for food, and the other variant for pleasure. Maybe those are Kadyrov forces after all. For the first time, Zelensky officially announced the goal of the special military operation in the Kursk region. The aim of it is to create the buffer area to protect the Ukrainian territories. That's what he said. He also called the United States of America, France, and the United Kingdom to increase the military support and expedite delivering the previously agreed packages. Well, we know that with the Kursk operation, Ukraine has more losses, also the loss of the equipment, which should be compensated. But after all, I think that this operation is successful. Ukraine got lots of the territories under control and was able to imprison thousands of the Russian soldiers, plus caused the irreparable damage to the Putin's regime. Alright, I found some more information about M270 Ukrainian rocket artillery system. Definitely 100% it was a decoy. We may see, judging on those kind of the wide elements of the upper construction. In the standard version, those are not wide at all. Ukraine has lots of those decoys and Russia also started to produce those. At the same time, the hero of Russia, the commander of the Kadyrov Akhmat battalion Aludinov, said that Ukraine was fully stopped in every of the direction in the Kursk Oblast, which is obviously lies. By the way, he already talked about that on the third day of the Ukrainian intervention to Kursk. He also called to buy some popcorn and watch how the Russian army will get rid of Ukrainian forces in Kursk, but so far it doesn't work. Aludinov becomes the main military clown of this operation, well, probably the main one after Kadyrov himself. By the way, guys, about Kadyrov and the Tesla Cybertruck, I want to clarify something. Yes, the Tesla wasn't delivered by Elon Musk himself. The probability of it is very low, but still, it was delivered to Chechnya somehow. Despite all of the sanctions on Russia, yes, Kadyrov said that Elon Musk directly sent the car, but we know, yes, that the probability of it is very low. I think that the car was bought in Emirates, probably, and later on sent to Chechnya. But because of this hype around Elon Musk, I think Tesla, at least Tesla, not Elon Musk himself, should come out and say, okay, it wasn't us, the company which sent this particular Cybertruck to Chechnya, to Russia, with all the sanction policy, and will investigate the case of why this particular car is out there. It is just some sort of the stupid propaganda video from Kadyrov. But I want to stress here that somehow Russia gets Starlinks as well as many of the Western-made spare parts are found, for example, in the Russian drones. Kadyrov shows here that the control for all of that equipment should be followed more precisely in a better way to cancel all the supplies to Russia, let's say. And I'm sure that you need to subscribe for Tesla, so you subscribe for the card to activate it, like for example your phone. So this Tesla account should be suspended. I'm sure that it is easy to find this account based on the card geolocation. To the other news, Ukraine fired up one more big Russian oil storage in Rostov Oblast. The fire there continues for many hours. By the way, this particular storage was already hit before. And there is already the satellite image of that Russian oil storage. It is significantly damaged. The spokesman of the Russian Foreign Ministry, Zakharova, said that there should be no negotiations between Russia and Kiev because there is a Nazi regime in Kiev and Ukraine attacks civilians in Kursk Oblast. Wow. Well, as you saw in many of the videos, Russian civilians are quite okay on the Ukrainian-controlled territories of Kursk. But yes, unfortunately, because of the Kursk operation, some of the civilians were wounded or even were zeroed by the shells and other stuff. But who started all of that? Zakharova. Who started the special military operation in Ukraine? Yes, Putin and the Russian army did their massacres in Ukraine. Also, Russia targets the Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. Yes, the Russian regime is just a clownish one. Meanwhile, North Korea condemns Ukraine's incursion into Russia as act of terror. Yeah, those regimes just couldn't be funnier. But one more dictator, Lukashenko, said that there are no Nazis left in Ukraine, so denazification is no needed. Yeah, kind of the interesting statement from the closest Putin's ally. But also Lukashenko said that Ukraine wants to provoke Russia for using nukes, to minimize the support of Russia by the third countries like India and China, which in that potential case would turn around from Russia. If Lukashenko speaks about it, it means that Putin thinks about it. And it is basically the main reason for Russia not to use nukes in Ukraine. But Lukashenko said that Zelensky wants nukes to be used on Ukraine. Crazy. Meanwhile, Russian warriors are damn angry because the Russian men are getting out from the Kursk region. They basically evacuate, and this military guy calls them to stop and fight for the motherland or dig the trenches, do whatever they need to protect the Russian Federation, but it seems like people do not want to do so. And definitely in Russia there are no queues for the military conscription services. There is basically no resistance against the coming Ukrainian forces. It means that Russians doesn't want to defend Putin's regime. It is one more win for Ukraine that Russians will see that, and entire world will understand that the Russian motherland doesn't exist for Russians, unlike in Ukraine that the defense was really strong against the occupiers. But what the Russian army does, it loots its own shops. For example, here the Kadyrov soldier tries to open the door to the market, and later on they start to loot some of the equipment. Well, actually it's the mobile phone store, and this is the storage of the mobile phones, but on this video at least they were not able to open the door, and those are Ahmad soldiers, guys. Brave Kadyrovites are looting in Russia itself. Also, locals complain a lot on Ahmad soldiers because their behavior is just terrible. They committed numerous of the crimes in the Kursk region. Yes, against locals, Russians. One of the main Ukrainian volunteers, Taras Chmut, published this map of Transnistria and also Moldova, saying that I'm not hinting on it, but I would say it's kind of the strange post of his, but it could be the regular one, or maybe he has some of the insights. Do you think Ukraine or Moldova will deal with Transnistria? For now, I don't think so. The good news from the United Kingdom, they think to supply more weaponry to Ukraine. Well, at least there were some of the internal negotiations in the ruling party. Russia punishes its own soldiers for drinking too much. What they do, they stick those soldiers to the trees and they stay like there for a very long time. Sorry guys, I had to blur this video because it is considered as the torture. Once Russian soldiers even tightened their commander to the tree, and right after it, Ukraine started the artillery fire. Miraculously, that Russian commander survived. So why Russians did it? Because he wanted to force his soldiers to useless mid-wave attack. And let's review the latest military map update for Ukraine. So it was yesterday and it is today. Unfortunately, Russia moved quite a lot. They even took this village of Mykolaiivka. They expand this gray zone, taking all of the territory down to those lakes. They also moved a little in Vuhledar, so it was yesterday and today, so definitely there is the threat for Vuhledar city if Russia is very close to it. Ukraine tries to eliminate the threat, dropping some of the aviation bombs on Mikhailsky. It's the main hub for the Russian forces performing this attack. Their supply hub, so the attack was successful. I hope that Russia will stop this attack because there will be in lack of supplies. But this picture looks dangerous for Vuhledar as well. As for the New York, we don't have the latest update from the deep state military map, but according to my information, I know it from our soldiers over there. Well, I think that Russia already occupied the settlement and Ukraine removed forces from this area. To avoid a possible encirclement, now the fight is ongoing for Neplivka village. Yes, sadly, according to our messages, New York was taken, so the future fight will go for Toretsk. Toretsk is a bigger settlement, as you see, and Russians try to enter to it directly from the east for now. But the future vector of attack could be from Neplivka village. And from Zalizna too, so they have multiple of the attack vectors. What about the south? Russia is forced to remove the part of their army from the Kherson Oblast to reinforce their group in Kursk. At the same time, the Russian military bloggers say that Ukraine deployed the reinforcements to the south and probably is getting ready to start the operation in liberating the Energodar nuclear power plant. Yes, it's called the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, but Zaporizhia is over here. This is the Energodar city. And Russians are damn serious about this probability. Well, maybe there is something behind the Kursk operation. It could be conducted with other motives, not just to get the gray zone between Ukraine and Russia. Well, we'll see in the nearby future. Also, guys, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine, and don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. As always, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.